Yep, that's understandable. And I'm happy to work through whatever parliamentary procedure that you all have. Unfortunately, Zoom meetings, when I use the video, it crashes my computer. And we use Teams, Microsoft Teams, and that's why, is because most of our internal, external protocols don't function well with Zoom. But in any case, um, whenever you're ready, I can introduce myself if I have the floor first. I don't want to,
Well,
like,
let me
if you
ask you
guys
something,
are
Robert.
waiting for
Uh,
something else or you wanted to do other
Let me
business
ask you
first.
something. Does
Yeah,
it work? How does it work with Google Meet? Because I personally have Google Meet.
I've
Does it
never
work there?
used it. We use Microsoft, and I really don't need my video. I honestly, it's just as easy to do it this way because you're
Okay.
seeing my screen, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay.
You have a
Well then,
slideshow on, I think.
if you're okay with proceeding the way that this is, whenever you say for me to introduce myself in the project, I'm happy to do that. And I don't want to
Uh,
take everybody's time all night. So I know it's Halloween. Are you guys going to get trick-or-treaters this whole time?
well, I turned off all the lights except the ones in this room, so that's
You,
not.
you spoil sport. I'm just kidding. Our next door neighbor, Julie, is sort of the neighborhood mom, and she starts the trick-or-treating at about 4:30 in the afternoon. So it's over for our block before it gets dark, really.
And whenever you want to start, introduce yourself and
Sure. Excellent. And so can everybody hear me? I've got my microphone turned up here, and my name is Robert Snoza, and I contacted Brayburn Glen because of a project that I'm working on. And what I'm showing on my screen right now is an illustration that I would like to share with you all and some concepts about a vacant lot that is within the area, well, that you can see. You might even recognize where it is on Valley View Lane. And this is a corner at the entrance, and this is Bray's Bio and the trail system down here. But before I get into all of that, I put links to the Harris County Flood Control District website for the project, as well as um, Texas A&M Extension AgriLife Services materials that cover rain gardens. But I always start these discussions by giving a brief overview of what a rain garden is and what it can do and what it can't do and what our project is trying to produce. There are, is anybody here not familiar with Harris County Flood Control District? Because I'd be more than happy to explain the mandate that flood control has. But you live right near Bray's Bio, which is one of the principal bios. There are 22 different watersheds in Harris County. And so Flood Control District manages the bios, creeks and streams, as well as detention basins and other facilities all around the county. And our jurisdiction is the boundaries of Harris County. We generally do not do any work at all in other areas, although we do share information and share projects and funding and things like that with other counties and the federal, state, and other local agencies that might have a flood damage reduction type of activity that they're going to engage in. And so this is principally an experiment in a way, or a demonstration project. And one of the things that I put into the chat is our website here, which shows the rain garden demonstration project, and you all can check out the links at your leisure. I put a nice website here for AgriLife, as well as one of their main manual products that shows what rain gardens are. All of these links are in the chat. But the main thing that I was going to share with you were the specifics about the project and what we hope to do in your neighborhood. And I want to say at the outset that um, the reason that we're contacting you before we do anything is so that we can start the conversation. And I'm happy to meet in the field, as I would say it, like, but that's in your neighborhood at this site to show folks. I don't want to do it like 100 times. But if there were some organized folks that wanted to go and meet on a day when everybody's available or something like that, and we can check out what we're planning to do and talk about the timeline and how things would look. But in general, the idea is that this is an empty lot. It is a buyout lot. It's actually 3 lots that are at the 8800 block on Valley View Lane at the entrance, where, and I can also show this on Google Earth, where folks could see it even better, which I can get another, see if I can move this guy out of the way. Yeah. So I'm going to show you exactly where this is in your neighborhood. And so where this is right over here, where the entrance to, oops, that's not what I'm wanting. That's a cruise ship. Somebody's got a cruise ship in your neighborhood. But anyway, so these lots here, there's one house here, and then there's some other buyout lots that are along Valley View Lane in the entrance across Brays Bio. And so recently there's been some trail work that's been done. This was the trail before, right? Which is near the Brayburn Glen Park. And then there's been a trail that was constructed along here. And these are the lots right here that I'm working with as part of our design. So what a rain garden is supposed to do is to keep the rainwater that falls on the property within the confines of this property. And so ordinarily, what would happen to the rainwater is that it would flow out to these drains on Valley View Lane, or it might flow down to Brays Bio away from this property. But what we're hoping to do is install a small garden. We're going to, if everybody's in agreement with this, we would depress the area here, excavate material out, and replace it with not just clay, but a more an infiltration type of engineered soil that has a more fluffy texture, and then put mulch on top and install plants. All of these little color blebs in here, they sort of represent the different types of plants. There's a key that I could share or talk about the different types of plants that would be in here, but they're all Texas natives, some grasses and perennial plants. And there'll be a couple of areas where there's a little bit of rock to avoid having any erosional features develop. And then what would then happen is, instead of the water in most storm events, smaller storm events, running off or puddling in the property, it would then go into the rain garden and sustain the plants, and any overflow would go along in this path and enter the Brays Bio backslope drain interceptor. So all along this trail, there's really a swale, and then there's this big inlet here. So we would just focus all the water that might run off into this. And so the next picture here, I'm going to move this just for a second. And this shows a cross-sectional view of kind of what it would be like. It's just really, oops, I got a little happy there. Okay, there it is. So this gives an idea of the relief that would be carved down slightly, just maybe like 6 inches or so, to depress it a little bit so that it runs off in the proper direction, so that it's a little bit lower than the area around here. And the reason why we're trying to do this is because if you're familiar with flood control, you know that we usually only do very large projects, or we accept very large projects from developers. Like a new subdivision might be being built, and they build a detention basin that's many acres in size. But this is not a general practice that flood control engages in, but we'd like to try to do some new, smaller applications to try to fill in some of the blank areas where there might be property that's only utilized in a certain way. And your subdivision has some small parcels of land that are owned by flood control district, as I mentioned before. And generally what happens to them is that they're mowed 8 times a year. And some of the residents in your neighborhood may have arrangements with flood control, a lease agreement, or some sort of a maintenance agreement where you can use the land and you pay insurance or something on it. Those are available. But what I would like to do is, after testing the rain garden methods and judging the cost of it, its effectiveness, to see whether people like it or not, if it turns out to be really a big headache with all the maintenance, or if it becomes too expensive. But if it's not too expensive and nobody hates it, then there's a possibility that in the future, communities could basically have an agreement with flood control to create their own rain gardens, or people could do a privately owned, not privately owned property, but privately owned materials. They could install their own plants. Say, like if you lived in this house and this was an open lot, you might be able to have, say, a little bit of an insurance, an agreement with flood control, and you could create, using some of our plans and designs or the kinds of guidelines that I show on the links from Texas A&M or some other approved source, and build your own rain garden. And the reason why it might be important over the long term, which is, this is just me, and at any time during what I'm talking about, I talk a lot. So, and once I get going, I'm pretty excited because I'm very energetic about the project. But you just have to stop me and ask a question, interrupt me, and I will definitely tell you. And I'm not going to speak forever. I want to make sure to introduce the project so that everybody understands what is coming for your neighborhood. And then feel free to ask questions, and then we can schedule another time to discuss it so that we're not here all night, and you can think about it, and it can be presented to more members of your community in a cogent way. So the reason that we want to experiment with smaller practices like a rain garden is because the infiltration of the water that would fall on this property. So at the outset, I want to make sure that everybody understands, or at least has it in the back of their mind, that flooding problems are associated with a lot of different things. And some of them come from when the bio overtops and comes into a neighborhood during an enormous event. I'm sure everybody remembers the last 2, 3, 4 hurricanes, tropical storms, etc. So riverine flooding or bio flooding, as it, hey, how you doing? Welcome in. My name's Robert, and I'm here with flood control, just sharing some information about your neighborhood and a project that we're going to talk about. But it's being recorded, so you can check it out later. Now, many of the times that things happen with flooding, it might just be street flooding that might come into a structure or whatever. But these open, these empty lots,
una región de la colonia.
and there is a big opportunity for us to keep the water on these lots. So if this lot here does not discharge any water to the storm sewers, then the idea is that that lessens the amount of water that's coming to the storm sewer by that small amount. And the more rain gardens that there are in neighborhoods, it's possible that there can be a less of a burden on the storm sewer system. So the intent of my project is to test to see if this small practice has a measurable effect on what is happening with the storm sewer system nearby Brays Bio. And so I have 5 different locations that are being tested. There's one in Timber Grove Manor. There's one in South Houston, one off of TC Jester north in the Cypress Creek watershed. And there's also this guy, and one more that's in Greens Bio. So from looking at this picture, I'm going to take you to another view, which is a little bit more technical, unless there's a question right now about rain gardens. But in general, just to recap, a rain garden is, for instance, this would be the rain garden. It's about 25% of the entire area. So the trees are going to stand. There's going to be a few added trees, and this area here would be excavated, and a small amount of soil would be removed and replaced with another type of soil that's a mix of sand and lighter soils than clay, so that the moisture that falls, the rain that falls on the property, will go into the rain garden, be absorbed in that soil material, and then used by the garden plants that are in there that we plant. And then the deeper the roots grow, the more infiltration that will happen over time. So as the rain garden matures, it probably will work and function better than when it was installed. And certainly, it's been much debated in certain areas, but honestly, in most places, the very first effect when you install a rain garden is that there's a lot more infiltration, especially in the place where you put the new type of soil. It's definitely different and better than what is there right now, which is generally a clay type soil with Bermuda grass on it. And so I was going to show another type of a view of the location and talk about some of the plants a little bit, and things like that. Does anybody have any questions at this point while I'm kind of filtering through my design here?
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I noticed that when houses have been knocked down and there's an empty lot, that somebody, a contractor or residents, think that's a good place to put their garbage.
Oh, yeah, right.
And I was wondering, how are you going to prevent that, or are you going to have the city or county come by once in a while and clean it up, or how's that going to work?
Well, for instance, there's a couple of answers to that question. Number one is if it's a known flood control lot and somebody comes into the neighborhood and dumps something on it, then you can notify through our website or a phone call to the citizen services line, and someone will come through. We're not a garbage service, but the lots need to be kept clean. And so there is a maintenance that happens to them, and the maintenance crews, when they come through, if there's debris, they need to clean it up first before they can mow. So that's what happens. But on this lot in particular, it's going to have a lot of nice new plants and vegetation. There'll probably be a small sign there that will explain nearby, so this isn't a depiction of the lot, the 3 lots. So there's the lot line, and this is 1, 2, 3 on 8803, 05, 07 on Valley View. And so we'll probably have a sign down here by the side that explains what a rain garden is, what it does, and how to contact flood control district, et cetera. So it's my hope that, along with all the other lots in here, that once this is developed into a garden, it becomes sort of a community space for you all to, if you wanted to do maintenance of some sort, I wouldn't frown on it. If you wanted to come through and take ownership of the place, is what we're really hoping, is that over time, folks like it so much that they take pride in it and it becomes part of their community, and then they would never let anybody dump in on it, because they would be watching out and telling people, hey, you can't let your dog poop there, you shouldn't leave your trash there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it becomes part of the fabric of your community. But to answer your question, I think during the time, this lot will probably get more maintenance than the other lots, because it will have new and different features, and it'll be under study. So there'll be a couple of electronic devices in there to check out the water levels, and there'll need to be people coming around like myself to make sure that everything's working right, that the plants aren't dying and everything like that. So it's definitely going to be watched pretty carefully. Does that help and answer your question?
Yeah, I have another question.
Please.
So what do we have? What if we have another Hurricane Harvey and this lot is underwater, are all the plants gonna die or?
I don't think so, because what we've done is we've selected plants that once they're established, they can do without water for some time. And we will have a watering truck probably come around. And if the next door neighbor wanted to water it, spray some water over the fence, that'd be fine too. But they also are plants that when they're wet for a short extended period of time, like 72 hours or something, it's not really going to hurt them. They're not going to die, and they're not going to float out or anything, because they're going to be planted pretty securely. And as soon as the root systems get established, we have experience with this in a couple of other places, and certainly there are thoughts. We have thought of that extended inundation, but we shouldn't have that happen. But yeah, Hurricane Harvey, honestly, when that happens, something terrible like that, a catastrophic event, all bets are off. And I guess we're going to find out. I hope we don't find out, because
No,
yeah,
we don't.
but if it does happen again, something like that, I honestly will be trying my best to figure out how to serve this and what it is. And having said that, so let's say something happened and the community doesn't like this. For instance, if you contacted me as a community group one day and said, for whatever reason, the general consensus is that we don't like the rain garden, well, the flood control district isn't going to force you to have something in your community that is, not something that you want. So it's simple enough to terminate our, thing, and we can just put it back the way that it was. It does cost money to do that, and it costs time and effort. And this is sort of a science experiment. So I would try to talk you out of it unless there was some really good reason. But truthfully, I want this to be something that you want as well. So we're really trying our best to design it in such a way that it satisfies the conditions of a demonstration project, meaning that it was chosen because it's 3 lots together. It's in a nice neighborhood where folks are nearby. There's neighbors across the street and right near it that there's a trail system, so it's going to be visible, and it's near the entrance to your community so that it can be sort of a little bit of a showpiece, but not necessarily. It can be something that people drive by, and it hopefully will be an improvement to it, but it also will be easily accessible so that when we need to do something like monitor the infiltration values or plant survivability or anything like that, that we can easily get to it. It's in a central Houston location. So one of the main reasons why I chose this lot and the others that are in the program is because of the way that the land is. The topography of the land that is in this lot set, just it lends itself to a use like this because of the way that it's kind of situated. It has a nearby drain that I can direct the overflow to. If you can see my cursor, this is a big drain. And if you're ever walking along the bayou and you don't know what this big concrete thing is, it leads directly down. There's a pipe inside of it that goes down to Bray's Bayou. So the reason why we chose it is because of it's 3 lots. It's pretty flat. It has some nice trees. It's in a nice neighborhood like yours. And it's got a nice wide open space where I could build this garden and also direct the overflow pretty much directly down to the bayou. And so I answered your question, or tried to, and then added a whole bunch of other stuff to that just because I had the opportunity. So what else can you guys think of that you might want to know about the project before I give a couple more remarks and then offer to be available to contact if you have further questions?
Hello?
I had a question.
Yeah.
Oh, no. What happens if we get too much rain? I mean, no rain like we did this summer.
Oh, yeah. That's an excellent thing to talk about because truly, well, number one, we're going to have our maintenance people come around with a water truck. And truthfully, until it gets established, those plants are kind of touch and go, just like anybody's garden. Sure. And so the timing for this, we would have been having this conversation I'm going to answer your question, but I'm going to give you more information to share because I know people just want to know these things. So I had a contract with a company to provide the plants, and they decided that it was they didn't want to work on the project with us. Basically, they didn't want to be involved because for whatever reason, they chose to drop out. So then I was left with no plant contractor to, well, it's not really a contractor. They're just a wholesale company to sell plants. And I thought about it and I was kind of upset for a minute. And then it became a drought. And then it became 100-degree days every day for the longest time. And then I kind of said to myself that everything happens for a reason. And that's fine by me because it delayed the project a year and we're now just discussing it. And so this isn't going to happen right away. And it's possible that this may be even another season away. There's two of these things that are going to be built in other places first before we get to the one that we're talking about right now in Brayburn Glen. But to answer your question, nothing likes, you've got a lot of shade on this lots. It's not totally shaded, but it's going to help. And we're going to have water trucks. And then the rain, we're going to hope for that they can make it through the season. And if they don't, then we replace the plants as need be. But generally speaking, it is a rain garden. Good question. What if it doesn't rain for 17, 20, 50 days in a row and it's 100 degrees? Well, it's going to have an adverse effect. That's basically what it's going to be. But we're going to be watching it and we're going to be trying to keep these plants alive by watering them and doing it at the right time. And we would also welcome anybody like the next door neighbor if they wanted to flash their, water across the fence over into part of the thing or whatever. That's also welcome because nobody knows. Hopefully, we're not going to have another summer this summer like we did this last time, because this reminded me of 2011 when we had a terrible drought. In any case, the plants aren't going to make it if they stay super dry. So I can't even lie to you that some of them will, though, because they're designed to be planted in such a way that the species can last, and they can look all crispy, but then they get a little water and they kind of come back. So that was actually bringing me to my next thing. This is our plant list, and this is where we look at the different rain gardens, and this is the one here with I'm going to zoom in just a little bit if I can. I think I can get the control here. In any case, so there's little planting zones here, and the buffer zone around the outside is one thing to kind of keep it in a certain way. And then there's a few different plants in the palette. And then this stuff down here is rock that leads away into the overflow drain. And so the plants that we kind of have planned for this, yours is site 4 on my list, which let me see if I can actually get this to go away. If I can. Anyway, hey everybody, I can see you. So our location here, we have a few trees, bald cypress trees, and a couple of live oaks that are situated in among all this stuff to add to the trees in your neighborhood. Then we have a bunch of switchgrass and Cherokee sedge, both of which are really hard to kill. And then some sweet spire and Gulf muley, and then a bit of butterfly weed. And that's pretty much the plant palette, except for these prairie plants, which are also very hard to kill. And so the side oats, grandma, and little blue stem, you might be familiar with. And then also a bit of more Cherokee sedge in these mixes that are, we call it a slope because in some of the areas it's flat and some of it's just got a slight amount of slope. So there's a lot of prairie grass, which once it gets established, gets some enormously deep roots, which is what we're really hoping for, to help the infiltration into the soil so that when water falls on this lot, like let's say, for example, and this is how I've tried to explain I don't want to go into storm frequency or anything like that because it's actually evolving with Atlas 14 and many of the other measurement techniques that people are using. But let's just say that a moderately small storm, like a quarter of an inch of rain, falls over 24 hours. I feel pretty confident that our data, after we do our data collection, is going to show that there's no appreciable runoff lost from this property. Like basically the property is going to be sort of graded to drain all of its areas down into this rain garden. This area here is going to take this over here. This is sloped down. This is part of the slope area that's going to take rainwater that comes and falls here. And so I'll just kind of gradually slope into the middle here where it can soak into the ground. Emergency overflow would be just like, let's say this fills up. Well, it's going to spill over in this direction and be guided away into this drain here. But I don't think that they're going to, and this is part of what the hypothesis of the science experiment is going to be, is we've designed this to pretty much take about a half an inch of rain over a 24-hour period. And that's about as much as you can hope for. So that's part of the thing. And I'm going to repeat myself, is to say that this is a flood damage practice. It's a low impact development and green infrastructure. And you, some of the articles that I've linked to in the chat discuss these practices and how it works and all of the dynamics of rain gardens. So I encourage you all to like grab that link and check it out from AgriLife A&M. But what our hypothesis is, and we're going to test to see if it works, is that smaller storms will not overflow, because typically, like on my drawing here, there's an inlet, and I know there's another one along the street here, and then along the entrance, Brayburn Glen Boulevard, I believe that's the name of the street, is there's another inlet, and then there's another one right here. We're probably in very small storms not going to have any overflow that leaves the property anymore, because it's all going to go into the rain garden, get soaked up, used by the plants, and if it needs to overflow, it's going to go down this way. But so like, it's not going to eat up big storms. It's going to just top over. So the two answers is, if there's no storms, the plants will suffer. But if we have repeated small storms, then I believe that what's going to happen is the storm sewer system is going to have that much less stormwater entering it to make way for the rest of the stormwater that wants to get down into the bio quicker. So when we prove that and find out overall the cost of installing a rain garden, how much it costs to run it, and then what its benefits are in flood water or storm water reduction, then we can talk about the value of practices like this. So does anybody here have a rain garden or rain barrels at their house already?
We have a rain barrel, but we don't have a rain garden.
Yeah, so rain barrel is basically the same. It's one of the practices that's identified as low impact development, green infrastructure, but you have to empty it for it to be ready the next time, right? You have to figure out how to use the water. And if it just rained, you're probably not going to be watering your plants with it. But the idea is exactly the same. So if it rains and it fills up the rain barrel and it doesn't turn into a mosquito heaven, then everything's cool. 3 days later, you use it to water the plants or feed the dog or whatever, and then it's empty the next time it rains. And that's the idea behind this. This is just about 50 to 100 times bigger than a single rain barrel in its capacity to hold water that falls. And so that's basically the same principle.
No, thank you very much. It's a wonderful idea.
It should work. And I'm hoping that everybody here and in your community can see the value in it. But when I have candid conversations with people about this, I have to honestly say I don't know if it'll work, because we're trying to judge. But I do know that other communities with similar topography, land uses, and things, if you ever were interested, if anybody travels to New Orleans, Louisiana, they have a large number of buyout lots in their city and vacant lots. And there are neighborhood associations and other groups that have banded together to create rain gardens like this. But the big difference in New Orleans is that they take the rainwater and they on purpose cut the curbs so that the rainwater from the street and roadway can enter the property. And we're doing it in reverse here. I'm keeping this water from this empty lot from entering the street, and they are allowing the water from the street to come into the property. It's both, if you think about it, it is actually achieving the same end goal, which is to reduce the amount of water that goes into the storm sewer system. So they have a lot of those. The difference is that here, flood control district does not build benches, sidewalks, or any other thing. And this lot cannot have certain things built upon it. But after we build this rain garden, if your community wanted to talk about it amongst yourselves and decide whether you wanted to enter into an agreement, I'm not saying you should. I'm offering and saying that it is possible that flood control district does have a system where agreements can be reached, that a community can adopt a lot. And if you liked this, that somebody wanted to come and mow it, the grass, because all this stuff is still going to be grass out here that's not colored like the children's drawing here with all the little numbers, and all these are just representing areas with plants in it. In any case, if you wanted to put a bench here to hang out, something like that, it's really up to you. That's something that you'd have to fund, but flood control would entertain that type of a discussion, and it would just be paperwork with the attorney, and it would just say that both parties have the ability to enter into this agreement freely, and both parties have the ability to exit this agreement, and we're going to provide nothing and you're going to provide something, and that's it. Nobody that gets hurt can blame each other, and that's an agreement. And then all of a sudden you spend $900 and you have a bench or something, right? But the other thing about this is this trail here exists, right? The last time I was down there to your neighborhood, it was being built, but is it all finished now?
That portion that you're looking at, that you have your mouse on, is paved. Yes.
It's all paved and done now?
Not all the way through.
It's not all the way through. It doesn't cross the bio where it's supposed to, but from Brayburn Glen going west, yes, that's all paved.
Okay, so that's what I thought, because on the other side of Brayburn Glen, I thought that it stopped and then it was under construction. And the last time I was down there in your neighborhood, they were either finishing it up and working on it. The original plans that I saw had like an exercise area here and then a trail that went up and connected to the sidewalk out here. But I think they decided that not to do that for some reason. And so I have these lots scheduled to be doing that. And so I guess the last thing that I would talk about is part of my job, what I'm doing to make this work, is I'm facilitating the purchase of plants, and I'm coordinating and helping I'm not having contractors build this. So one of the things that I want to make, I don't necessarily want to harp on it, but so many times these jobs are done just by a landscaping company and they get paid to do it. But what I've decided is, and not just me, but the management of flood control wanted to teach and help our folks learn how to do new things. And so we have an internal group of construction operators that fix pipes and do other jobs, and they're going to take time out of their schedule. They're not going to postpone emergency work, but on their downtime or in a week or something that they set aside, that they're going to come and build the rain gardens so that internal flood control operations and maintenance folks from infrastructure division are going to work together with environmental people to make sure that not only, do they just not hand this over to a contractor that costs 10 times as much, so that they learn another thing about how to construct low impact development green infrastructure, and that it keeps the costs low by having folks that would already be doing work for the flood control work on it. The plants are purchased. There's some material like rock and special soils and mulch that are purposed. So in order for us to build this, it takes clearing the area and then excavation and removal and building small raised areas. So there's going to be like the topography of the area is going to be changed so it drains properly into the rain garden, and then the replacing of materials so that it's all leveled out to the proper elevation, and then we do some rock work, and then planting and mulching around the trees and new plants, and then it's a garden, and then you let it grow, and I monitor it and we maintain it. And then the timeline for study to see how long it takes is really, honestly, we need to know that. So it's indeterminate, but the general idea is that we would be studying this for 2 to 3 years after its construction. And when it's going to go to construction is an unknown right now. But the first 2 rain gardens that I'm working on are going to be built after January 1st. So those are going to get constructed, and then the plants have to come later. So if I have an opportunity to do this year, I would of course be coordinating with you all and letting you know what is happening, and keeping it so that everybody has the ability to know what's going on. But I can't say right now whether I need to get the first 2 that are already scheduled and have our folks basically figure out what they're doing first, and then we're going to move on to the other 3 rain gardens. So best case scenario, we would have time this winter to build them, and then the plants will come in the spring, because nursery people, I don't know if any of you work for a nursery or if you know anything about them, but they do want to sell you plants that look beautiful. And when you put them in the ground, they don't want anybody, because a lot of the plants that we're choosing, they don't look like much in the winter because they're very dormant and they lose a lot of their leaves and stems. And so it would basically be like, if I were planting this right when it's being constructed, it would look like a bunch of sticks coming up out of the ground. And so the nursery people don't even want to sell the plants at that point. I don't want to try to tell you my problems, but that is a problem. So that is our phased approach that we're trying to use for this. So if we were going, and this is a big if it happens this winter season, the next opportunity would be after the summer. So if this project, while we're discussing it now, I can always keep it fresh by coming back and discussing it with you if it gets postponed until the autumn time in 2024. In any case, I think I've taken a lot of your time, and you've been very generous with your time. Are you chuckling at me? I see you. Okay. In any case, I think I would take any questions and or any concerns, but I would also volunteer to be available. And I really like having 1 or 2 points of contact. It's not that I don't want all of you to contact me immediately with questions, and I certainly am happy to also help you through all of this with any questions that you have about flood control in general, and be a point of contact if there's anything that needs to be done or something like that. So do any questions come up right away?
Robert, when you start working on those other ones, can you let me know so that I can go by there, look at them, maybe take some pictures?
Yeah, for sure. And if I can, do I have time to share one more thing with you guys?
Sure.
Because, okay, so first of all, that was pretty much an abbreviated presentation, but it includes a lot of information. And I want to show you guys one more thing. I'm going to use Google Maps so that I can take you to someplace, and I'm just going to talk about it because it's another project that we work on that's very similar to this one, and it's out in another neighborhood in West Houston off of Barker Cypress. And it's in Brentwood. And I'm going to show you this because, first of all, it's part of Harris County. It's Brentwood, Barker Cypress, and it's a free open neighborhood. It's not behind a locked gate or anything like that. So if you wanted to look at a science experiment in the works, this is a normal flood control ditch. And I call it a ditch because I've worked here for 20 years, but it is a flood control channel. It's a conveyance. This is a storm sewer that comes out into it. You might be familiar. You see the pipes all over. This is a backslope swale. And this is a swale that keeps the water from overtopping into the bio. And this is called our bioswale demonstration project. And so this is the same as all other flood control backslope swales. But this down here is essentially the same. It's just like a linear rain garden, but it's not got any of the extra special stuff, like no special soil. It only has plants that were put in here. So you can definitely see that it's a different, it's very clumpy, it's tufty, and I'm going to show it to you because someone has been so kind as to, in their neighborhood, they took and did a little waypoint here for, oops, nope, that isn't what I wanted to do. It took me to the wrong place. Hold on. There's one right here. Okay, I'm going to drop this. Okay, so now you're on the sidewalk, and that's back where the storm sewer was. And this is a grassland area. As these are the types of plants and the type of culture that you would be expecting of some of the rain garden. This is a very abrupt transition here with Bermuda grass and St. Augustine and whatever other weeds are in there, but it's all vegetated, which is good. And so this is monitored also. And what its purpose is the same as a rain garden. It's to change the type of plants, the type of maintenance activities that are taken on this small strip. And what we found, and down here, there's a sign that explains what is going on. And in your neighborhood, I would probably have a rain garden sign that would just stand there next to the trail and tell people what's going on. This is a rain garden. You don't need to mow it. It's a native grassland area. Don't disturb it. We don't need to have signs everywhere, but there probably would be, it would be helpful to let people know what's going on. But so this is something that's been established for about 5, 6, possibly even 7 years. Depends. Like it was very small in its infancy, but it's an example of another demonstration project which takes what is the normal practice of the flood control backslope drain swale and a undisturbed backslope drain swale, and then changes the vegetation and the maintenance regime of the next one down here so that we can Pepsi challenge what happens to the water. And I can tell you already, because right here at this location, we have a precipitation, we have a rain gauge, we have instruments that are in the ground that are connected to a little house here that holds the electronics. And it shows us that rain that falls still goes down the pipe here. It fills up the swale and it goes down the pipe. But the rain that falls here gets collected in the soil and is used by the roots of the plants. And it does not, in certain storms, smaller storms, there is no runoff that enters the pipe because it's all being used by the plants. And so that's basically the idea of this. It's called Bioswale Demonstration Project. And it's pretty much the same as the rain garden, except it's on our property and not on an empty lot within the neighborhood. So yes, I will tell you when we're going to do the other ones, and you can come and take pictures of it. And I'll, if you need another presentation, I can show you the progress of this before it comes to your neighborhood.
Thank you.
Did, if anybody has any other questions, honestly, you know, folks can get in touch with me, and I see, you know, Manuel has pretty much got my number and can hit me up anytime if you need. My email is my name, so it's robert.snoza@hcfcd.hcf or hctx.net, and you can send me an email if you have questions. But generally speaking, I'm a environmental scientist that works for the environmental services portion of planning division. So while I'm able to guide and help you with certain aspects of flood control business, I'm not a spokesperson for flood control, nor am I a maintenance person, but I can get you to the right. If you have a problem, feel free to contact me, but there are other avenues. So if you have a problem with a flood control project, a contractor, a tree, a flooding issue, there are probably better people than me to contact. And I'm not telling you not to contact me. I'm just saying that you'd probably get faster and better service through our citizen services line. But I'm happy to, I'm happy to talk to any of you about this project in particular or anything else. So if you didn't have any other questions or anything, and I would let you guys have your time so that you can have your meeting, because you let me go first, and I feel so privileged that you were probably going to have a full meeting. You didn't get this thing together
No,
just for me,
actually,
did you?
no. But we also have Brian Pendleton from
Oh, really? Great.
Commissioner Leslie Briones, and I'm not sure, did somebody else come with you, Brian?
Yes, Will Sherman from the flood control district
Will,
is on the line as well.
what a great guy. And I took so much time to describe the project that's in your neighborhood and the other one. I hope I didn't detract from the presentation and information that they're going to give you about Braze Bio. But as I said,
no. Hey guys, yeah. Thanks, Robert and Brian. Yeah, this Will Sherman. Yeah, just
I'm going to go ahead and drop my share then,
Okay.
or you can take it over.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. I was gonna kind of reiterate if y'all have any maintenance questions or service request type questions, I'll be happy to kind of answer those or get those direct y'all where you need to go. But no, Robert, no, I appreciate it. No, I didn't really have a whole lot to share from my end. It's interesting projects, but yeah, Brian, if you have anything, if you want me to go any more detail on anything, please let me know.
No, I don't have anything. I didn't know if you wanted to expand on anything he said, or you can answer some of the maintenance stuff real quick.
Sure, yeah. And if anybody has any
Mr. Sherman,
sure, go ahead.
Ever since flood control bought the lots, especially on Kennard, there's two houses, and I mean, I can't say they're the ones that put them out, but they're always in front of two houses right on Kennard, and they dump their heavy trash. In fact, there's some sofas that will be out there for almost 2 months before city's heavy trash comes and picks them up. And I don't know what to do. I know that y'all won't come pick them up every time that we call. So do we have a solution for that? Maybe a camera so you can catch them doing it?
Yep, possibly. Let me, I'm trying to pull it. Hopefully y'all can see that. I'm trying to but you said which street is that?
On Kennard.
Kennard, okay. Hopefully okay, I got you. So this little area right here, are y'all seeing that? Hopefully my connection.
Yeah, that's the flood controls lots.
Okay, cool. But yeah, as far as the cameras, I know we have partnered with some of the law enforcement in the past I'm not sure who would be over this area, so that may be an option, but obviously,
You know,
we could look at getting that trash picked up or debris if it's on one of our lots. So,
most of it is like the third and fourth house on Kennard, yeah, across from them, the empty lots across. So if you look at the maybe second, third, fourth house, I mean, it's every month you see it out there.
okay, is it
I-
kind of these lots right here? Is it,
Well, a little bit down, but yeah, the empty lots there, that area right in there.
okay,
I got the address if you want it.
sure, yeah, and I'll put my
it's-
email in the chat.
It's 8807 Kennard. It's near Valley View.
Okay. Let me, yeah. 8807, yeah, but yeah, we definitely, we can definitely look at, is that taking it somewhere else?
I mean, it's every month that it happens. I mean, as soon as the heavy trash came out, they put out some sofas. They picked it up and there was more junk out there.
Right, okay, well, no, definitely, because we have routine, the debris pickup, but, also we can look at if there are no trespassing, no dumping signs. And then, we can also kind of put this on the radar with the law enforcement. If we have the signs up, a lot of times they can, they can go in and possibly put cameras or, more patrols, but, yeah, it's pretty common throughout the county. We run into this, so, but yeah, kind of like back to the rain garden, I like that idea that, people are more involved and you kind of lessen some of that activity, so, but yeah, feel free to shoot that over, and I can get that in myself as a service request and for debris removal.
Are you in charge of things like that?
No, not directly, but yeah, I mean, I work with property management, and infrastructure, and other departments that kind of handle, mowing and debris pickup. So
If either you or Brian could leave a number or an email where we could send emails to on the chat. If I'm not mistaken, Zoom will record the chat.
yeah,
I can. I'm about to type my email right now.
yeah, and hopefully, I think I put mine in the chat, but yeah, I can get that to everybody. If y'all can't see it, but yeah, definitely, and I work with, community services department or, citizen service, they take the calls. So, anything like that, feel free to reach out to me as well. So,
And it's mostly right in that area more than anything. So if, we could stop it, that would help a lot.
right. Okay. But yeah, I can get that in, and but other than that, I don't have a whole lot to report, as far as projects. I know we have Project Braze did finish up a little further downstream from y'all.
Is that the one by 610?
Yes, well, there's yeah, I kind of zoom out a little bit, but I think we yes, so 610, kind of South Post Oak area, and I think the last couple of bridges were Chimney Rock and South Rice. It's kind of where the federal project finished up. I guess that was the last year, or we're still kind of in the final stages, but yeah, that was pretty much completed, and we do have some work currently, Keegan's Bayou, kind of maintenance work and some other activities. So just kind of southwest of y'all. And then, I think there are a couple of studies, Fondren to Gessner, we're looking at possibly extending, doing some more work along Braze Bayou. But I think that's still kind of in the study phase. And yeah, I'm trying to think of of anything else in the area. Other than small maintenance projects and, cyclical, mowing and other type of maintenance activities. But yeah, I mean, anything y'all have moving forward, feel free to contact me. And yeah, if anybody has any questions or if you go into more detail.
I have one question. Could you turn on your video just so I can see what you look like? I've seen Brian at one of our meetings, but
Oh,
I don't
okay.
think I've ever met you before.
Yeah, well, I wasn't set up for that. Let me see if I can usually use Teams, so bear with me. If it will
There you go.
allow me.
In fact, you were at the Southwest Democrats meeting, weren't you? Was that you?
I don't think so. Let me
You're asking me?
Oh.
Yes.
Yes, I was.
Okay. I thought I saw you there.
hopefully that's gonna pick up.
There you go.
Mhm. I have a question. What needs to be done to raise value in our neighborhood to move the floodplain away so my flood insurance would go down?
What I'm sorry, what was that?
With my flood insurance has been going up, and I was wondering what needs to be done to raise value by our neighborhood in order to change the floodplain so that my house is no longer, in an area where the government's gonna keep raising my flood insurance.
Right. Well, that yeah, we are working. I think Robert mentioned with the map next and the new flood data that we're collecting should be rolling out. So that kind of basically the floodplains are going to be redrawn with the better data, kind of more, using rain on grid, all kinds of other good stuff. So, and also with Project Braze being completed and anything else, I mean, it could be, could be that it's updated. I'm not sure exactly where you are, if you're right in that area, but yeah, that should be rolling out within the I believe the next year or so. But yeah, that's something we don't actually, we're involved with that, but that's kind of a floodplain administration, and FEMA kind of handles those maps. We work with them as a local sponsor, but yeah, if you have a certain location, if you want to, where you are, I can look into it.
When do they expect the maps to come out, the new ones?
I wish I had a better date on that. But yeah, I heard end of the year, possibly sometime next year. So, and I think we're gonna work on we'll most likely have community engagement meetings, with all the residents, countywide, because it's rolling out in certain areas first. But definitely be sure to keep you all and keep you all on the same page. So but yeah, I'm not sure when that's rolling out, but we'll definitely be looking at that to get some good community feedback and have some meetings. So
Hey guys,
have
I'm going to
another
take that
question.
opportunity to just
Sorry.
jump in here. This is Robert, and say that I'm going to sign off, but I put my email in a note in the chat. And so I hope to be in contact with you all very soon about my project.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you so much. Have a great night. Happy Halloween.
Same to you.
thanks, Rob.
I have another question. It's about Keegan's Bayou. It seems like it's pouring a lot of water into Bray's Bayou, and I was wondering, how is that water that's going into Keegan's Bayou? How is that being controlled?
Yeah, well, let me hang on one second. Let me, if I can share my screen again. Sorry, bear with me here. But yeah, so Keegan's So, you know, it's basically, it's all really kind of designed, yeah, I'm not sure exactly, you know, but that was all kind of designed to, you know, there's not, if there's any additional flow coming in or going through Keegan's, then that's got to be mitigated before it enters Brays Bayou. And there really hadn't been a whole lot done to it, you know, in the recent past. So, but yeah, I mean, I know there are definitely flooding issues in the area, but we are working, we do have that project. And if you've been out there, it goes from, I think kind of roughly from 59, you know, we're out there currently, forget what the limits, but basically doing some desilt work, you know, kind of restoring the channel, kind of silt mounds and any sediment accumulation, and then and also any erosion, outfall, storm sewer outfall pipes that go into the channel. So that's you know, that's all under construction right now. But yeah, for anything, you know, significant flood damage reduction, you know, a lot of that was handled by the Project Brays, you know, just downstream. And you know, and there could be some additional work in the future, but yeah, I don't know if that answered the question, or you know, if there are more specific areas. So, yeah.
I after this was a year or two ago when there was half decent rainstorm, and I noticed that Brays Bayou by Braemar Glen was, and the bayou was like, let's say 3/4 full, but when the Brays Bayou and Keegan's Bayou met, then it looked like the whole bayou, Brays Bayou, was now up near its banks, because it looked like a lot of water was coming out of Keegan's Bayou and adding, you know, a big load of water to Brays Bayou at that point. So that's why I'm asking about it.
Okay, yeah, and you know, sometimes it could be, you know, if depends on where the rain falls, you know, geographically, if there's a lot kind of coming from southwest of here, you know, at one time, you know, that could be, you know, it could be a lot of factors, but I know, you know, with our work we're doing, we have done and are doing, it should be reduced, but yeah, I mean, there is also, you know, we've looked at, you know, kind of this site here also. I think it's the Rufino. You know, I don't have a whole lot of information, but there is some possibility in the future, you know, if, you know, really to do anything, if we wanted to, say, to example, improve Keegan's more, then we would need a detention, additional, you know, so kind of sites like this could be a possible area, kind of a larger scale. You know, we're talking about the rain gardens, but then the large basins would be another option. So, but yeah, but yeah, we can definitely look at, you know, if there are certain areas, but yeah, I'm not aware of any issues right there at the confluence in Keegan's and Brays. But yeah, I mean, it's that short term would be, you know, blockage removals, but anything longer term, you know, larger would, you know, that's kind of what some of our studies are looking at. So, but you know, it's a pretty highly developed area, so it's kind of tough to do, you know, do anything if we want to, you know, construct detention basins or thing like that. So, but definitely we can look into anything you'd like us to. So.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And
Any more questions, anybody? Mr. Pendleton, you know,
Hey,
Commissioner Leslie Briones is the first one, at least since when I've been president, to send anybody to our meetings. And I want to thank you for coming and for reaching out to us, because it makes a difference. It makes a difference. So
well,
thank you.
Well, we appreciate it, and we look forward to working with your civic club, because that's what we want to do. We want to come either whether we're in the northern part of the precinct or the southwest part of the precinct. We want to hear from our citizens, and if you have issues, let us know. And even if it's something that the city has to take care of, we'll we got good relationships with the city as well. So I appreciate this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's no more questions, I guess we can end the meeting. Does anybody else have any questions? Going once, going twice.
Mhm.
Thank you all for coming. Y'all have a great evening. And the doorbell didn't ring, so not having lights on worked.
Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank-